All right, let's go ahead and get to these events that occurred overseas. Just a quick rundown for you of what happened here. So you guys will probably recall, I don't know if you remember all of these details, but Emmanuel Macron calls these snap elections foolishly, ultimately. And it was looking like the far right, like Marine Le Pen's party, was really surging, and they were. But there was this kind of coalition of, the anti-Le Pen faction, bunch of Macron-aligned people, and a lot of leftists who joined together and were able to block them from an outright majority. And actually, it turns out that the left party won the most seats in parliament. So you would think maybe that would give them some, governance power in terms of governance, but not so. Macron decided to make a deal with the not like far right party, but the center right party, and put in place a prime minister that came from that faction, with the idea being basically like, I'm going to move enough to the right with this pick that Marine Le Pen and her crew are not going to instantly vote against him and instantly tank him. And so rather than trying to work together with the left, I'm going to do this right of center coalition and try to, construct a government that way. So that has now come crashing down in spectacular fashion. We can put this up on the screen from Politico. They say French government collapse turns the screws on Macron. The collapse of France's government on Wednesday night means it now finally falls to President Emmanuel Macron to step up and confront a snowballing political and economic crisis that risks sending shockwaves across the Eurozone. After a heated debate in the National Assembly marked by raucous jeers and boos, 331 of France's 577 lawmakers voted to oust Prime Minister Michel Barnier in a vote of no confidence after he tried to force through an austere budget to fix the country's yawning deficits. Once he formally resigns, Barnier will become the shortest-lived prime minister in the history of the modern French Republic and the first to be booted out by parliament since 1962. So basically the lefties and the righties and the right wing, like Le Pen's faction, they voted together to oust this dude. That's how he went down. We can put this next piece up on the screen. This is Daniel Nashanian, who, in addition to doing great work covering politics here, also covers French politics in a way that's very useful. He says the unnecessary July snap elections resulted in a wildly fragmented assembly, as you'll know well if you were following me. That's what I was just referring to before. The left coalition got roughly 190 seats. The Macronist parties got roughly 170. The far right got roughly 140. Conservatives got roughly 40. Okay, so that's the smallest faction that Macron had partnered with here. In French, coalition that controls the assembly gets to be prime minister and effectively govern the country with little input from the president if the PM and president are in different camps. But no election in the current regime had resulted in such a fragmented chamber. Let's put the next slides up on the screen that continues to explain the situation. He says Macron, you'll also recall, refused to name a prime minister from the left coalition, saying that with only 1/3 of the seats, they were too certain of losing a no-confidence vote as soon as they came in power. That itself provoked controversy. So instead, he named this conservative, Michel Barnier, as PM, formalizing a tacit alliance between his parties and this center-right party. Overall, alliance only had about 210 out of 577 seats, but the idea was this is the best way to get the far right to hold off on a no-confidence vote. And put the last one up on the screen here. So here we are. Either Le Pen changes her mind and lets Barnier live another day. We now know that did not happen, either because he gives concessions or something else, or the cabinet falls and it's unclear what happened then. There can be no new elections till the summer at the earliest. So that's kind of where things are right now, Saagar. As far as like the analysts I'm reading online, no one really knows what happens next.
It's crazy.
It's like, I mean, the country is just basically ungovernable at this point. And, it really all does go back to that original decision from Macron to hold the snap elections. And then rather than working with the left, who he'd sort of allied with to be able to, hold on to power, instead trying to please Le Pen and do enough to keep her from participating in this no-confidence vote, and now that has all kind of come apart.
The whole thing is completely insane, and really what it is that there are not a lot of easy choices, as you said, about where things go next, because now you have no prime minister, Also, Europe is in, honestly, like turmoil right now, not only with the election of Donald Trump, but Germany is like torn right now over whether they should escalate the war in Ukraine or not. Their chancellor is like simultaneously visiting Kyiv, but also said he doesn't want to provide offensive weapons. They literally have no idea what to do.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
so with the French, Macron has been very hawkish on Ukraine. He's even floated putting like French troops on the ground. But then you also have the budget crisis internally. I mean, I don't know. The whole thing is nuts, just for like where things even go in the future. And I would say it's a major problem for them, because Trump is going to use a lot of this as to his own advantage. Remember, Trump is going to be in France this weekend. He's going to be.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
He'll be in Paris on Saturday for the opening of the reopening of Notre Dame after it burned down.
Oh, wow.
And him and Macron famously got along very well. Macron played him like a fiddle. I watched it up close. He speaks perfect English. He's very, he's a glad-handing shapeshifter. He knows exactly what to do. You should see him in action with reporters, who, by the way, he knows them all by name. It's amazing to watch a foreign leader play Americans so well. But anyway, he has invited Trump, to that opening. Famously, by the way, Trump is planning that he will be in charge of our 250th anniversary party for July 4th. I think it's 2026. Will be America 250, which is going to be a big celebration. And he got the idea, remember, for a military parade from the Bastille Day in France.
God.
So apparently he'll be discussing some of that with him. It'll be interesting. But I'm curious to see the effects in terms of the French government and also the country and Europe itself, what they want to do and how they're going to handle a Donald Trump administration. I was looking at tariff charts just yesterday. We had very modest tariffs on European goods last time around, even with Trump in office. They were bitching about like a 1% increase. If Trump is able to get what he actually wants through, which is like 10 to 15%, it would decimate the European economy. They would be destroyed.
What were they? They were pissed off about the Biden administration's, Inflation Reduction Act.
The IRA has specific provisions within it that require certain percentage of the car to be eligible for a tax credit. It has to be made in the United States.
Yeah.
Both Canada and the Europeans hate.
Well, and so they may be. I mean, Trump has said he wants to roll that stuff back. So they may be pleased with some of the things that they
might be pleased with that, but I mean, in terms of raw goods and other stuff that we do, I mean, think about it. Like for every EV that we buy, we probably buy 10 Volvos or whatever. That also comes over in terms of gas-powered vehicles. The amount of trade that we do with the EU is EV is a very, very small part of that. They were upset because they see that as a future market. But in general, they're going to be, if there's any real tariffs that go into place, especially think about it, right now, the Europeans are heavily reliant on US LNG. And so that previously they moved from Russian gas over to US LNG. We are the dominant energy seller to the Europeans right now. So we have tremendous leverage over their economies. We could destroy them overnight.
They're all doing their version of the Joe and Mika trip to Mar-a-Lago. Oh, Mr. Trump, congratulations.
I don't hate it.
Congratulations on your incredible victory. You're such a genius, like Zelensky tweeting all that stuff out.
I like to see Europeans in a supplicant mood. There's nothing that I hate more than when they lecture us.
Well, we will see. I thought this was funny from Arnaud, our friend, who we tried to book for today, but he was busy. We'll get him on another time because he does such a great job. But put this up on the screen, drawing some parallels with the wild events in South Korea this week. He says, run for election, overtake country from unpopular incumbent, promising you'll change things, perform even worse, suck up to the U.S. in very embarrassing ways, run country's economy to the ground, be wildly unpopular, lose parliamentary majority, propose budget that's opposed by parliament, present opposition as illegitimate and anti-democracy, disregard election results, be Emmanuel Macron, pick unrelated, and the picture is of the South Korean dude who just tried to do the coup. So drawing some parallels here, but just to make the tie-in with U.S. politics, to wrap this up, you'll recall, Saagar, when the Left Alliance was able to sort of block the Marine Le Pen surge, whatever. Isn't that when Ron Klain put out his tweet that was like,
correct.
Interesting, incumbent with some 30% approval rating is able to maintain his position of power, basically saying like, oh, this will be Joe Biden's path back in. And I think they really believed that. They thought that the some would say, anti-fascist coalition that came together in France, that it would be a similar dynamic that would play out here in the U.S. And that was really the view, you know, the anti-Trump coalition. Like, that was the bedrock view of the Morning Joes of the world, of the Ron Klains of the world, of the whole, like, Liz Cheney approach to politics and David Plouffe and all these people. They really thought that that was the way to win back the White House, and obviously didn't work.
Clearly the radical reaction they thought was an aberration. So, for example, you had Theresa May kind of become the like the inheritor of Brexit. She calls the snap election. She thinks she's going to win. She ends up losing.
Yeah.
This leads to the disaster of Boris Johnson and of Rishi Sunak, and now even Keir Starmer. He's like tremendously
don't forget Liz Truss
unpopular. Yeah, Liz Truss as well. Yeah, that's right. But you know, Nigel is more popular than ever before. You know, traditional conservative voters voted reform for the first time in the UK. Same in France. Macron rose on the promise that he would move past, he called himself Jupiterian, which is an amazing term, to like move past, like almost a Napoleonic figure, rising above the traditional French mess of politics to lead Europe in a center-left neoliberal direction. Remember, Barack Obama endorsed him in 2017, and it's been a disaster. Angela Merkel, same thing, like the inheritor of that theory of Germany and of strong Europe and the United States, didn't work out, has been replaced by Scholz. Him himself is a mess, you know, in terms of the rise of the AfD now in Germany. So across the continent and really across the world, you watch as a lot of these incumbent figures are slowly dropping one by one. I don't know who's going to replace Macron. It could be a socialist, it could be Marine Le Pen, but either way, it's going to be pretty radical and shocking and different than what came
Likely,
before.
very likely.
His goal was to be a bulwark against that. And it's just, they thought they could outlast the forces of Brexit, of Trump, and all of that. And the truth is that those were like not only nascent, but they've only grown even more as people have tried to push it down. So the Trump victory and the fall of these governments and whatever come next is just a natural extension.
Part of that global trend of anti-incumbency too, where every single incumbent figure in the West, Western world
and
lost
India.
share.
Yeah, right.
And where did you say?
And India.
And India lost share. So anyway, the winds of change are a-blowing, whether our leaders listen to it or not.
Yes, that's right. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.